I know you were very keen to review Ready Player One for this kaiju, so floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. Let's see. I've heard a lot of differing opinions surrounding Ready Player One. Some called it nostalgia bait, the movie. Some called it the return of the escapist fantasy spirit of Steven Spielberg. And others called it a series of cool special effects scenes with not much depth beyond that. Since watching the movie for myself back in April, I ended up loving the film despite its flaws. Yes, a lot of the action is geared towards you recognizing all the Easter eggs. Yes, several of the main cast are a bit underdeveloped. Yes, the villain is a pretty one note corporate bad guy. And yes, the message of not letting your obsessions take a hold of your life is a little nonsensical when the heroes have to do just that to win the big competition. However, I felt like the filmmaker's heart was in the right place, as they made a sci fi adventure film that is exciting enough for me overall. I enjoyed the camaraderie between Parzival, H, and Artemis. I thought main villain, Nolan Sorrento, played up his smarminess and hamminess to a delightfully campy degree. And I enjoyed the look of this world where all of humanity has abandoned its problems in favor of escaping into a supposedly better world, even if it is fake. And of course, the action itself was very exhilarating, even if you remove all of the references. Though I will admit, while there is plenty of nostalgia bait, I enjoyed every single bit of it, especially seeing characters from my two favorite franchises of all time made my inner child jump with joy. Yes, I know it's pandering, but I don't care. It was cool. Uh, Ready Player One may not be for everyone, but if you're looking for some of that old school charm of the 80s films of Robert Zemeckis and Steven Spielberg, you may find some of that entertainment in here. So overall, I did ended up highly enjoying Ready Player One, and I truly embrace it, even despite its all flaws. As I would say, it is my favorite film of the summer overall.
From what I remember seeing from clips that got put up on YT, and I think some of it was in the trailer, I like the idea of combining the DeLorean with Kit, which I thought, okay, that's an interesting take on it. And I mean, even when there was like the final fight going, I'm like, I had to look twice at one stage. Like, wait, is that the Ninja Turtles?
Yep.
And
It's like for any of those like YouTube channels that search up all the hidden references and Easter eggs, this is like one of those YouTubers like dream come true.
because Sonic actually featured very briefly, didn't he?
I don't recall seeing Sonic, although I'm sure this is one of those movies where you're gonna have to be pausing your Blu-ray player like every single second just to catch everything.
Yeah, I know Sonic's feature got more of a speaking role in Wreck-It Ralph Breaks the Internet, but that's for a different time. Sadly, one of which I still haven't watched. But
Same here.
um, on just on a quick tangent of that, someone decided to make a joke of what would happen if if Ralph visited DeviantArt, and the look on his face is like, I've seen shit. Oh, yeah, you
Rule
go to the
34. That's all I gotta say.
yeah, and according to Oni, we don't want to know about Rule 44. I'm like, okay, if it's freaking Oni out, I don't want to know. And that's a guy that's seen all sorts of stuff of wrong on the internet. Ugh. Besides Kaiju, who else saw Ready Player One?
I saw snippets of it. I mean, I felt, to be honest with you, the only reason I stayed was to see Kaneda's bike and
Mm-hmm.
RX-78-2 Gundam. That's the only highlights for me.
Which for normies out there is the OG Gundam.
That too.
Ooh.
It wasn't bad. I don't see why people were shitting on it. It was actually a fun movie. And I really loved all the nods and Easter eggs that you could see throughout the film. I still grin every time I see any scene, be it the trailer or the actual movie, being able to not only see the original Gundam, but Chun-Li, Femship, frickin' Lara Croft and Tracer. Hell yeah! And the freaking 1966 Batmobile. How can you say no to a fun movie like that?
Hello?
I'm still here. Can you hear me?
No.
Yeah, I can hear you too.
No. It's when you said the 66 Batmobile. I'm like, hello?
Oh, in that context.
Ah,
But yeah, seeing all those Easter eggs, the writing was actually pretty decent for a summer blockbuster. It was fun. It kept my attention. The special effects were pretty good, especially good with the freaking Gundam. Which means if you want a proper Gundam movie, definitely have whoever directed this, aside from Steven Spielberg, to work on a live action Gundam movie. And maybe we'll get something that isn't the abomination that's G Savior.
Okay, I haven't seen with Ready Player One, but also the DeLorean with the Knight Rider scanner.
Yeah, we touched on that earlier.
and I wanted to mention this earlier, but in the book, not only did the main character Parzival also have the DeLorean, but he also legitimately installed the computer kit into his DeLorean, along with slapping on a Ghostbusters logo on the side of each door, and gave it the personal license plate of Ecto 88. So he went like all out and making it the ultimate 80s DeLorean in the book.
Nice. Would you say, looking back at that movie, Spielberg has still got it, or if it's, or is he not, or is still on par with some of his more classic directing?
I'd say he's still got it. He's got the passion for film still. Sure, there were a couple of movies that were hit or miss, but 9 times out of 10, normally movies that Steven Spielberg handles are pretty good.
Would you say the same, Kaiju?
Oh yeah, definitely. I wanted to add on to that where I feel like recently the modern day Spielberg has been more focused on drama, on historical dramas. And it felt like this movie was like a return to that old school escapist fantasy Spielberg of the 80s and 90s, of like the E.T., Jurassic Park, and even some of his collaborations with Robert Zemeckis. And it probably felt as much of a nostalgic journey for him as it was for us.
Well, I'm definitely going to have to get that movie if this is on par with his work with Jurassic Park. So that's definitely one to consider. All right,
I would say it's not as good as his golden age of films, or it's not as good as like the height of his films, but I'd say it's like very, very solidly made.
All right.